Sweet children, in order to become as lovely as the Father, consider yourselves to be souls, points. And remember the Father, a point. A point remembering a point. A point concentrating, focused on a point to experience the fullness of you being your own point. Question, why does each of you children need to make deep incognito effort to stay in remembrance? Because Maya is so deep and strong and body consciousness so profound. Answer, you souls cannot become charitable souls, pure souls, from sinful souls without staying in remembrance. Only when you stay in incognito remembrance, no fanfare, no show, no trying to impress anyone, and become soul conscious will your sins be absolved. Remembrance is also a way to save yourself from the punishment of Dharamraj. It's only in your having remembrance that storms of Maya create. It's only in remembrance. So Maya attacks your remembrance. You can know all the knowledge you like as long as you have no yoga. Your ego doesn't care. Why keep doing that? You're still going to be my slave. Therefore, make incognito effort to stay in remembrance, and you'll then become as lovely as Lakshmi and Narayan. Song salutations to Shiva. So he gives us this one word remembrance. Man manabhav. I don't give you anything difficult. Look how many things we're learning about one word called remembrance. Body consciousness, soul consciousness, virtue, all the different stages, titles. That's all about what this remembrance is. So a lot of detail. Om Shanti, this is the praise of the Father of all. God, or the Father, is remembered. He is called the Mother and Father, uppercase. He is called God the Father. It isn't that all human beings are called God the Father. Even a worldly father is called Baba, Father, but someone who is a worldly father also remembers the capital F Father from beyond this world. In fact, it is the soul who remembers. He also remembers his worldly father. That soul doesn't know his own form or occupation. Imagine, some souls have the karma, could say misfortune, unfortunate karma. They don't even know their father. They were born and never have met their father. The soul doesn't know himself, so how would he know God the Father? Everyone knows his own worldly father and that he will receive an inheritance from him. And that's not independent of the mother. If your mother was a quality mother, she would have picked a quality father and they would have stayed together and you would have had quality parents and grown up in a quality family. All kinds of things connected with that original karma of your first birth, which is who are your parents and what inheritance did you receive from them by being born to them, which is according to the karma you sowed, because you only go there because of your previous life, right? Why else would he be remembered? He will definitely receive you will definitely receive your inheritance from the Paralokhic Father, Father from beyond. It is said, "O God the Father." People ask him for mercy and forgiveness because they continue to commit sins. This too is fixed in the drama. However, to know souls and to know the Supreme Soul is a difficult subject. It is the easiest of all, but also the most difficult of all. No matter how much science, etc., is taught through which people go to the moon, that is nothing when compared to this knowledge. The knowledge should go to the moon, all that science, physics, chemistry, biology that they use to send people to the moon is nothing compared to what you're learning here, because you're learning the knowledge about all of that here. And that's what Vivekananda was teaching the physicists. It's very difficult to know oneself and the Father. So obviously, if you had the intellectual capacity to become a physicist, but you decided you wanted to become PhD in Raja Yoga, then you would be intellectually the equivalent of a physicist or a biologist or a chemist or an astronomer. He's even teaching about that. Very difficult to know oneself and the Father. All of you children who call yourselves Brahma Kumaris and Kumaris should have the faith that you are souls. You forget that you are souls, points, and that the Father is also points. One thing everyone forgets. So one could say there already is unity in the Brahmin family because we all forget that we're points. We all forget the same Father who's a point, and we have that in common. There's unity. This is a difficult subject. You forget that you are souls. You also forget to remember the Father. You don't have the practice of being soul conscious. So that means, underlying, you should practice. These souls are points and have parts of 84 births recorded in you. You repeatedly forget, but we souls adopt different bodies and play our parts. This is the main thing to understand. All of this knowledge, apart from the understanding of souls and the Supreme Soul, enters all your intellects. We take 84 births and become part of the Sun Dynasty and then the Moon Dynasty. This cycle is very easy, and so you understand it. However, there isn't as much benefit in just understanding the cycle as there is in having faith that you are a soul and remembering the Father. They're connected, but there isn't as much benefit. It's because there's not as much power. The realization you're a soul and God is everything. And then, of course, you come to understand about faith. You come to understand about the cycle. I, the soul, am a star. The Father is also extremely subtle. He is also an extremely subtle star. Only he is the bestower of salvation. Only by remembering him will your sins be absolved. No one remembers him constantly in this way. You don't become soul conscious. Remember again and again, I am a soul. The Father's orders are, remember me and your sins will be absolved. I am a point. I came here and became an actor. I am covered with the rust of the five vices. I am in the Iron Age. I now have to go to the Golden Age. Therefore, remember the Father with a lot of love. By remembering the Father in this way, the rust would be removed. This requires effort. That's the problem. Nobody wants to put in the effort. Many boast about the service they do. They say, today I did this service, and so many were impressed. However, Shiv Baba understands that they were not even the slightest bit impressed with the knowledge of souls or Supreme Soul. But you think they were so impressed. They were simply impressed to hear the knowledge of how Bharat changes from hell to heaven, how you take 84 births, and how you go through the stages of Sattva, Raja, and Tama. Because if they did get impressed with the knowledge of Soul and Supreme Soul, what would happen?
They would come here.
They would become a BK. How you take 84 births and how you go through the stages of Sattva, Raja, and Tamo. They even understand that God is incorporeal, but none of them understands that they are souls, that they have 80 parts of 84 births recorded in them, that the Father is also a point, and he has all the knowledge, and that they have to remember him. They don't understand the main thing. Only the Father gives you the knowledge of the history and geography of the world. Now, they translate the Murlis in English, but Baba speaks Hindi to an instrument who speaks Hindi. So hence why you're required to learn. It's in your own interest to learn a little bit of Hindi, not formulate sentences, just learn some basic words. That way you understand your Father better. Even the government wants there to be the history and geography of the world. These matters are even more subtle than that. What a soul is, how a part of 84 births is recorded in him, and how that too is imperishable, the part. None of them are engrossed in the yoga of remembering to consider themselves to be points, and of remembering a Father through which sins are absolved. They don't even put focus on that. They don't even concentrate or put effort into that. If they were to stay in this remembrance of being a point, remembering the point, they would become very lovely. Look how Lakshmi Narayan are. Look at what people here are like. They themselves say, I have no virtues. They say, we are degraded and dirty, and you are so pure, right? Lakshmi Narayan. That's what they say in the Hindu temples. Only when you have the faith that you are a soul and you remember the Father can you achieve success. Otherwise, you receive very little success. Some think that because they know the history and geography of the world, they have very good knowledge in them. However, they don't show their chart of yoga, which would be the sign of whether they had good knowledge in themselves or not. You don't give your chart to Baba. What kind of knowledge do you have? Hardly anyone stays in this stage. That is, hardly anyone considers himself to be a soul and remembers the Father. Many don't practice this. Baba understands that some children only spin the knowledge of the cycle in their intellects. Very few of you practice this. I am a soul. I have to have yoga with the Father, through which I will come out of the Iron Age. How do you come out of the Iron Age? This hell? By having remembrance of the Father. And go to the Golden Age. I, the soul, have to know the Father. I have to stay in remembrance of him. Many do not practice this. Many come and say that this is good knowledge. They don't understand how much rust they are covered in. From beautiful, they have become ugly. How can they become beautiful again? No one understands this. It's not just a matter of knowing the history and geography. right? And even if you understood the history and geography, you could not understand identical repetition if you haven't had yoga. You'd have to recognize Baba, and then you would accept identical repetition. I can explain it to you. It's logical to me. I can tell you all the reasons why it makes sense, but you have to realize that. And at the end of the day, even if you didn't understand it and have that kind of intellect, you could just simply say, it's true.
As Baba said.
Because God says so. Baba says so. If you recognize Baba, then okay, maybe your intellect can't figure it out. But because you recognize Baba, then you would understand why that makes it true, because Baba can't tell you lies. The way to avoid experiencing punishment is simply to stay in remembrance. If your yoga is not accurate, there has to be punishment from Dharmaraj. This is a very important subject, which none of them is able to take up. They consider themselves to be very clever in this knowledge. There's no doubt about that you're all clever in knowledge. But the main thing is
Yoga.
yoga. Many are very weak in yoga. This is why the Father says, be very cautious. Don't just become a pandit. I am a soul and I have to remember the Father. The Father is given the order, man above. So even your facility with knowledge is increasingly heightened because of yoga. The significance, the meaning, the detail, your realization of it improves based on yoga. Yeah, your intellect has basic understanding, but you don't have realization because of lack of yoga. Father is given the order, man above. This is the great mantra. Consider yourself to be a star and also consider the Father to be a star and remember him. There's not a big form of that Father who comes in front of you, big Shivlingam, like 1 story high. There's an effort in becoming soul conscious. Only one couple becomes the first emperor and empress of the world. They have hundreds of thousands of subjects. There are so many subjects. It is easy to understand the history and geography. So you could tie those statements together. There are so many subjects, hundreds of thousands, and very scarcely few of you have any yoga. What's that tell you?
Less yoga means becoming a subject.
You become a subject. It is easy to understand the history and geography, but only when you consider yourself to be souls and remember the Father will you become pure. And you can say, well, I don't mind being a subject. Yeah, in Golden Age, you'll be happy. Silver Age, you'll be happy. When are you going to mind being a subject?
In the Copper and Iron Age.
When your rulers become corrupt, then it's not so fun being a subject. So I'd say it's better off making the effort to become a king. This practice is very difficult. When you sit down for remembrance, many storms create obstacles. It is with great difficulty that you sit down for even half an hour and have constant remembrance. You repeatedly forget Baba, forget your soul, forget Baba, forget even to remember Baba. True incognito effort is required for this. Yeah, it's not flashy. Nobody knows you're doing it, but your stage tells everyone you're doing it. It's easy to understand the secrets of the cycle. Hardly any of you understand how to become soul conscious and remember the Father and then start to act. It's only by having remembrance of the Father that you will become pure. You will then receive a body that is free from disease, and then you will have a long life. So look at all the benefits of yoga. You can't become a bead of the rosary just by explaining history and geography of the world, right? You can't become a bead of the rosary just by explaining the history and geography of the world. It's only by having remembrance that you can become a bead. No one is able to make this effort. You yourselves understand that you don't stay in remembrance. Very good Maharatis are slack in this subject of yoga. Okay, so that's it. Nobody on pedestals. Love everybody, respect everybody. And then by extension to that point, even Maharatis of service are not necessarily good in yoga. This is why your stage fluctuates, because you don't know the secret of souls and Supreme Soul. Even though you can prove the cycle is 5,000 years long, this is why your stage fluctuates, because there's a lot of body consciousness. Only when you become soul conscious, when you become a bead of the rosary, it isn't just because you can explain the history and geography of the world that you'll then become a bead that is close to Bap Dada the tassel in the rosary. No, first of all, your intellects must remain aware that you souls are very tiny and you have parts of 84 births recorded within you. That has to be a realization. It's not you're going to recall every single second of 84 births. You just realize the main points of all your of every single one of your births. That's why it's called self-realization. Then remember the cycle. The main thing is yoga. A yogi stage is required, right? You're not trying to have self-realization so you can know in your fifth birth what you had for breakfast that day. No, of course not. You're here to realize the truth and purity of who you are as a soul and the parts you play and your eternal part that you play with God in an identically repeating cycle. Become a charitable soul from a sinful soul. Souls will become pure by having yoga. Only those who have the power of yoga will be saved from punishment of dharma. Hardly anyone is able to make this effort. Many storms of Maya will come, which means, therefore, most are going to have to
Experience Dharma.
experience punishment from Dharmaraj. Many storms of Maya will come. This requires very deep incognito effort. To become soul conscious and remember Baba is deep incognito effort. So that means you got to be making it all day long. You become Lakshmi Narayan, it's not like going to your auntie's home. So easy to, let's go to auntie's home. Yeah, well then try being a master of Raja Yoga. See how easy that is. When you develop this practice, you'll remember the Father whilst walking, moving around. Baba tells you Raja Yoga is easy. I give you nothing difficult to do. Just try it and then you'll see how difficult it is. And then you have to make the effort to get so good at Raja Yoga that
Comes easy.
it's not difficult anymore. This is called yoga. Otherwise, even small children are able to understand the things of this knowledge. All the ages, etc., are shown in the pictures. The 4 different ages or 5 ages. That is common. Before people begin an auspicious task, they draw a swastika. That is the symbol of the gold and silver, copper, and iron age. So the Hitler swastika is actually a symbol of the gold and silver, copper, iron age. It is very auspicious. They draw a swastika. At the top, there's the short confluence age. Therefore, if you first of all consider yourself to be a soul and continue to remember the Father, that peace can spread everywhere. Sins will be absolved by having yoga. The whole world has forgotten about souls and the Supreme Soul. So knowledge is just the first step, right? The world doesn't transform if you just hear knowledge, and you don't transform if you just hear knowledge. The power to transform a world, to make it pure, comes from yoga. Some say that God is brighter than 1,000 suns. This is what Arjun said in the Hindu Gita. Oh, stop. The light's too bright. It's brighter than 1,000 suns. However, since they say that each soul is the Supreme Soul, how can that be possible? How can they be one? There can't be any variation in size. You also have to explain this. The form of a soul is just
A dot.
a point. If each soul was to be the Supreme Soul, then he too, the Supreme Soul, must also be a point. So whether you think God is in all souls or not, they all have to be points. Now you know what he looks like. But then if he's a point and you're a point, and you're making effort to remember God, remember the point, how could you be the one remembering yourself? If everyone were God, then everyone would be the creator. Only the one Father grants salvation to everyone. Everyone has received his own part. This has to be made to sit in the intellect. This is a matter that has to be understood. The Father says, remember me, and your rust will be removed. This requires effort. You've been body conscious for half the cycle. In the Golden Age, although you were soul conscious, you didn't know the Father or this knowledge. So in Golden Age, you're soul conscious, but you don't know the knowledge of the beginning, middle, and end of the Creator or the creation. At this time, you receive knowledge, and it then disappears. Why is that?
Because we forget.
Because you forget. There, like you won't have any detailed knowledge of soul. You won't know about mind, intellect, subconscious, but you'll just remember you're a soul because you forgot all that knowledge. There, you just have the knowledge that you are souls and you shed your bodies and take others. You just play your parts. What is there to worry about in that? And you don't have to know knowledge because there's no sorrow. So that's why you forget and leave everything, because once you're happy, you don't need anything. Each of you has to play your own part. What would be achieved by crying? This is explained so that when they understand it, they can become peaceful. Yeah? Even if everyone cried on the whole planet for an hour, you wouldn't have enough water to even water one tree. So what's achieved by crying? Nothing. When they understand this themselves, they will be able to explain it to others. Elderly people explain to others, that person is not going to come back by your crying. What is there to cry about when that soul has left the body and departed? They're already gone. Even on the path of ignorance, they understand this, but they don't understand what a soul is or what the Supreme Soul is. There's alloy, impurity, alloy, mixed into souls, but they think that souls are immune to the effect of action. Well, if souls were immune to the effect of action, they couldn't become impure. These are very refined matters. Baba understands that many children don't stay in remembrance. What will happen just by explaining to others? They were very impressed, but they didn't experience any benefit from it. It's only when they receive the recognition of souls and the Supreme Soul that they can understand that they are truly his children. So even if nobody signs up or takes deep knowledge, you should still be happy and feel very fortunate to do service. Why? And you would appreciate them greatly if you were humble and realized, because they allowed you to practice being soul conscious and speaking the knowledge of the Father in remembrance of Baba. Somebody allowed you to do that. That's fortune, no? So there's still great fortune in just sharing with anybody, even if they don't become Brahmins. Only the Father is the purifier. He comes and liberates us from sorrow. He too is just a point. You constantly have to remember the Father. However, it's not a big thing just to know about
History and geography.
history and geography. Although they come to understand everything, it requires constant effort to remain in the stage of considering oneself to be a soul. And it takes constant effort. So you got to learn first to make constant effort. That tells you the reason you're struggling in body consciousness because you're not making constant effort. No, why don't you make constant effort when God tells you to? Oh, laziness and carelessness. Only the Father comes and tells you about souls and the Supreme Soul. It is easy to understand the world cycle. While sitting and moving around, make as much effort as possible to
Be soul conscious.
remain soul conscious. Those who are soul conscious remain very peaceful. They understand that they have to go into silence, that our parts are now coming to an end, and that they have to go and reside in the incorporeal world. They let go of everything. They become very light, detached, just at peace with everything. They consider the form of the Father to be a tiny point. He is not a big Shiv Lingam. Baba is very tiny. Only he is the knowledgeful one and the bestower of salvation for all. So Baba is not that big lingam. Big lingam looks like a big oval-shaped ellipse. I, the soul, am also becoming knowledgeful. And they paint it black. So you're worshiping this black stone that looks like a hybrid of an ellipse and a seed, but it's big, like a building. Only he is the knowledgeful one and the bestower of salvation for all. I, this soul, am also becoming knowledgeful. Only when you have such thoughts can you claim a high status. No one in the world knows about souls of the Supreme Soul. So just keep reminding yourself of all the details of soul and Supreme Soul. Then you won't have time for Maya. You Brahmins now understand this. Even sannyasis don't understand this. Even these big, powerful sannyasis who are the heads of Hinduism do not know this. Nor will they come and understand it. They will all just go into their own religions. They will settle their accounts and go back home. Only by making this effort will you receive your inheritance from the Father. You now have to become soul conscious. The heart is in the soul. You souls have to attach your hearts to
What?
the Father. The heart is not in the body, not your physical heart. The body only has physical organs. It is the duty of you souls to attach your hearts of the soul to the Father. Consider yourself to be souls and attach your hearts to Supreme Soul, God the Father. A soul is very subtle. A soul is very tiny and subtle and plays such a big part. This is nature. Such a big imperishable part is recorded in such a tiny soul. That part can never be erased. It is very subtle. Even when you try not to, you still remember gross things, not subtle things. You should try to remember subtle things, but your mind is such a habit to remember gross things. I, this soul, am a tiny star, and the Father is just as tiny. This is the effort that you children first have to make. It is this tiny soul who has now become impure. This is the main method with which to purify the soul. Also, study. Playing games and having fun is a different matter. Play is also an art. The status is received by studying, not by playing games. Okay, so we're not playing here. Playing games, etc., is a different department. That doesn't have any connection with knowledge or yoga. The different department, not even in this university, it's not even one of the subjects. Copper bow, etc., is also just a game. The main thing is remembrance. Acha. To you, sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning. From the mother, father, Baptada, the spiritual father says namaste to you, spiritual children. And
The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father.
lesson for Dharna, number 1. In order to be saved from the punishment of Dharmaraj, the supreme judge, God is the supreme judge, make what kind of effort?
Intense.
Incognito.
Incognito effort to have remembrance. The way to become pure is to consider yourself to be
So,
Point.
a soul, a point, and to remember the Father,
The point.
point.
the point. So you got the point? Now remember the point. Number 2, think about this eternally repeating cycle of karma. You experience, you retain, remember, and then you share. So you need to be checking how pure the experiences that you're having, how pure are the experiences you're retaining, because you shouldn't retain any impure experiences. And are you sharing pure things, knowledge, anything, experiences, when you interact with others? If you stop all that impure sharing, experiences, memory, you become pure. Don't consider yourself, point number 2, don't consider yourself to be very clever with knowledge. Practice creating a constant and stable stage. Follow Baba's orders. And follow Baba's orders. Not even suggestions or ideas today. They're orders. You must do them. Blessing. May be an easy and constant yogi and be constantly seated.
Detached observer.
Nope.
A carefree emperor.
Nope. On your lotus seat whilst performing every act. Stabilizing your pure self. In order to be constantly yog-yuked, accurately linked in yoga, yog-yuked means accurately linked in yoga, you constantly have to remain seated on your lotus seat. However, only those who are light can remain stable on their
Lotus seat.
lotus seat, so that there not be any type of burden or bondage. When all your burdens finish, the burden on your mind of thoughts, the burden of sanskars, the burden of attraction to perishable things of the world, the burden of attachment to your blood relations, you'll then be able to be seated on your lotus seat as a constant yogi. Your mind will be stable and immovable. I'll repeat them. The burden of your mind, of your thoughts of your mind, the burden of your sanskars, the burden of attraction to perishable things of the world, the burden of attachment to your blood relations, you will then be able to be seated on your lotus seat as a constant yogi. And because it's impurity that makes you have those burdens. If your aim is to be on your lotus seat of purity, then you have to get rid of all that impurity. Slogan, imbibe the virtue of tolerance and you'll not have to take support of falsehood. If you had tolerance, you would never whine, complain, or blame. You'd never have to give excuses. You only do all of that because you're taking sorrow from something. Why? Because your virtues are not sustaining you at that time. And then you blame things instead of saying, oh, my virtues are weak. You blame external conditions and circumstances. Then you have to take support of falsehood, untruth. Om Shanti. Avyat Signal. The sanskaras of those who are simple and sweet will be in their form. Become like those of Baptada, then Baptada's form will be visible to everyone. Remember you say they should see the Father in your features. Just like Bapdada, the same virtues, the same behavior, and copy the Father, the same words and the same thoughts will be experienced. Just like Bapdada, the same virtues, same behavior, same words, and the same thoughts will be experienced. We'll all become Bapdada clones. It will emerge from everyone's lips that they seem exactly all the same. Monochrome. They all look white. All right, very good. Om Shanti.